What's up, YouTube? This one, oh, I dated her, but I don't count it. It's just personal reason I don't count it. I was 15, and a girl had called me on the phone and asked me out. Her name was Yvonne. My brother was right next to me. When we had landlines, no, it wasn't on the wall. It was on the desk, but plugged into the wall. Anyway, she called and asked me out. And I told her, yeah, you know. And my brother, as soon as I got off the phone, kept on asking me why I would date her. And I said, well, she asked. And he said, yeah, but she's a little on the heavy side. I said, so? I said, she's nice, she's cool, and I like her. I think she's cool. And he just, kept down on her the whole time. But anyway, Yvonne was a very pretty girl. She was a thick girl, but she was very pretty. But anyway, yeah, she was supposed to be asking me out for her friend Gail, which that came about later. I did not know that at the time. Of course, her friend Gail and I talked later, and Gail is still mad at me for that, even though I hadn't I had no clue what the hell was going on. But anyway, I don't see how that's my fault. It ain't like Yvonne called me up and said, hey, me or my friend Gail would like to date you. Would you like to date one of us? No, that wasn't the question I was asked. Nothing about Gail ever came up. Yeah, her friend Cindy Hepron. We were good friends, and I like Cindy too. Uh, but Cindy never asked me out or anything. I would have went out on a date with her if she asked. Uh, what's wrong with that? It's a date. It's not like we're getting married. It's getting to know somebody. What the hell? But anyway, we were also young. We were like 14 or 15 years old. But this is just before I moved out of the house. Um, Actually, I ended up moving in with Yvonne, paying rent, and uh, I was working on getting me and Yvonne an apartment so we could live by ourselves. Um, Yvonne was the one that initiated sexual things and all that because I didn't do that with her either. And pretty funny, she never got pregnant by me, but everybody tries to act like I was being careless and put all these kids on this earth, but without planning them. No, every one of them was planned except for Jasmine. Jasmine was Jen's and my daughter, and that was a tricky situation, and that wasn't because of me. Uh, it's been, I don't know, for some reason a thing of my life, probably because of ADHD. But I'm always in the wrong place at the wrong time. Another reason why I stay away from people, because all they do is cause problems and I end up in trouble. Fuck that. But um, Yeah, man. I went to work with my uncle. He started working me like a dog, and I mean like a fucking dog. I made 300 a week, and I worked 120 hours a week most of the time. Every once in a while, it was an 80 or 100-hour week, but most of the time, 120 hours. And that was my fault because he asked me if I wanted to be hourly for $7 an hour or if I wanted salary for 300 a week, and I figured, shit, solid 300 sounds good to me. It was wrong. I should have said seven. I would have been making double what I was making. But I quickly moved into percentage. I was a percentage worker after like 2 to 3 months of working with him, and I worked for him for almost 2 years. Then I went to work for an American Home Interiors, worked for myself, and then I went back to work for him. Oh, and I worked for Chad Chrisman. That was because a woman tried to tell me I didn't have a career and that I needed to find a job because jobs are hard to find. And literally, I was out of work for a day. I still had money in the bank. I still had my car. I had everything. I was just taking it easy. I worked my ass off. But she was on pills and was on a power trip. So I was like, okay, just to make you feel better. So I went through the yellow pages, which she told me I wasn't going to find a job that way. Found a custom hardwood and custom cabinet company and went to work for him. Very next day, had my interview, and within 2 days, had a job. And I knew I had the job when I got off the phone with him. But anyway, I was excited, and I figured she would feel better, so I walked out and told her. I said, "See, I got a job starting tomorrow." And she got mad. She stood up and smacked me in my face. Yep. And I didn't do anything. I just grabbed her hands and said, "Don't ever hit me again." And I let her go, and I walked outside, and they tried to call the cops on me, and the cops told me that I had every right to press charges on her. And she was crying and throwing a fit, and I wasn't going to press charges on her. I don't do that. She was apologizing, and oh, she was hysterical. And this is the same person that was giving Jen a problem. But I found out why. Well, they both have attitudes, and Jen would take her pills, which at first I thought that this woman was delusional and Jen was too much of a chicken to be, messing with anything she didn't know. But that wasn't the case. Jen was a pill popper. So was Tiffany. Maybe that's why they did kind of the same things. I don't know. They both suffer from the same thing, borderline personality disorders. One's just got more balls to do crazy shit than the other. That's all. The other one only has the balls to do it when nobody's looking. But yeah, Yvonne ended up sleeping with my brother because my brother kept going to her house while I was at work. Ended up having a son by my brother. Yeah, but pretty funny. She was never abused. I never had an oops baby with her. Uh, really? Okay. She was the one that initiated any type of sexual things. Yep. I was over her house. We were doing what kids do, playing tag, stuff like that. Uh, we were playing hide and go seek. I went and hid behind the blackberries because her parents had a whole bunch of blackberries that I would help them out with in the summer. Picking them, selling them, whatever. And she came back there and jumped on top of me, and I was laughing and wrestling and goofing off, and she put her shirt over my head. And I said, "What are you doing?" That's when we started talking about sexual things. And she talked me into that, saying that, you know, it was her first time. I told her that it was going to be mine, and blah, blah, blah. I didn't tell her that at first. We talked about a lot of things, and I said, yeah, it's going to be mine too. But come to find out, that was a lie. That it wasn't her first time. And I don't know why I went along with messing around with her, and we didn't do anything intercourse wise that night, just goofing stuff. I told her she was crazy. She was going to get me killed, and she laughed. But yeah, Bethany, I never did any of that stuff to her either. She did the same thing, messing with my brother, ended up drinking, smoking, doing heroin, all kinds of shit after we broke up. Even though I smoke, I would drink occasionally and I smoke a little bit of weed, but I would never, ever touch anything like that. Not pills, heroin, cocaine, coke, nothing. Nothing like that. I am completely against all that. I don't look down on other people that get wrapped up in it. I just shake my head and say it's not for me until they start giving me raz or trying to mess with my life or mess with somebody else, that kind of stuff. Then sometimes that'll come up in the conversation, but that's just for them to realize that ain't for me. It doesn't mean I think I'm better than them. I'm just mentioning, hey, you're fucking with this person running your mouth down this, and look at you. Knock it off. Fix that shit before you even. And then they try and get on me. Well, you smoke cigarettes? You smoke? Yes, I do, and I'm very responsible with what I do. I can take a gram cart, of concentrated THC only, and it can last me anywhere from a week to 2 weeks. There's people like my nephew that will drain one of those within 2 to 3 hours. So I don't abuse things. I use it medically. And just because there's stoners out there that because I smoke, we get along and goof off, doesn't mean that I'm, a an addicted personality like they have, or they might have towards it. Because some of them are using it medically too. And yes, sometimes they overdo it. But with weed, the only thing you're going to do is go to sleep and laugh your butt off. That's it. Maybe they had a real stressful day and they said, screw it, I'm going to smoke a little bit more today. So they did. And others abuse the shit out of it and think it's like a total culture, which to some people it is. Even though I have friends that roam in that group and are like that, doesn't mean that I am. I don't let other people's things like that become my life. My life is my life. Their life is their life. Now, when it comes to girls, you kind of don't have a choice because you are romantically with that person. They are sharing life with you. Everything they do affects you, everything you do affects them. So, yeah, that's a little bit different. And when I know my friend's a good person and just having some issues, I will tell people that. And yeah, I'll get on them, but they better, everybody else better back off. You don't know them like I do. I know constructive criticism because I know the person. This other person does not. And yeah, sometimes that turns into an argument because they're hard headed and they don't want to give up or acknowledge what I'm talking about. That's part of being a friend. Everybody knows there's fine lines to everything. I'd rather be the dickhead friend that tells you the truth and have you mad at me than be the dickhead friend that doesn't tell you. Yep, that's me.